Everybody, welcome back to another episode of DFS Fantasy NFL Picks. I'm Ross Megro 31, week 4. Finally got some, we're getting close to getting some actual good data here. Like the first week, you don't know if it's a trend or not. The second week, sometimes everything was the exact opposite. Now having 3 weeks down, no bye weeks yet. I still have some injuries. I think we're where we need to be. So I had a decent week last week. Was a little bit too heavy on the Minnesota Chargers game. I thought it was a decent game, but I thought it was be more of a fantasy gold mine than it actually was. I did have Dolphins. I did talk about them on the video. And I did have, some of the running backs too, so that helped. I didn't have everything put together. So I did well, but I just didn't do like elite. But got another week, another opportunity. As you see up there, we have Showdown. There's an early game. I was going to do a separate video. I'll just bang this out quick. Falcons and Jacksonville Jaguars. It's in London. If you have Disney Plus, you can watch them. Be interesting to see how they change the players into the Toy Story characters. But hey, something exciting. I think a football game at 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday in London's exciting enough, but we gotta do what we gotta do. Anyways, Jacksonville's always played really well every time they come over here, especially back when I think when Blake Bortles was their quarterback. They just even if they won one game in a season, it was always the London game. So always played well here. Always played well. Who is the running back that had 3 names here? Maurice Jones-Drew. He always seemed to do really well in London also. So how they started off this season, they're good. Atlanta is trying to be a run-first team with Robinson. He's an explosive rookie. Algier has had some opportunities too. I think Cordell Patterson is healthy and be back in the mix. Also, probably not too much, maybe a gadget play here or there. Ritter, they have some design runs a quarterback, and they're a little bit of passing, but so they only have a 20 total. Jacksonville is trying to play more a pace. They really want to try to expand on this passing game and mix in ETN and Bigsby as their running backs, but they're down Zay Jones, so I think how this is going to play out is I think it could be very defensive. I think it could be very low scoring. And so kickers and defense are definitely in play. So I'm going to take Lawrence. I think he's definitely the captain. I'm going to take Kirk. There's definitely a savings from Ridley on that. And then B-Rob is the Atlanta piece of it. If you want just a cheap Atlanta piece of running back, if you think it's going to be a Jacksonville blowout, then go Mac Hollins. He's pretty cheap. And I think he's like probably has caught more balls than like London and Pitts. So that's where I'd probably go on that one, and then mix in whoever you want to. Remember, kicker and defense are in play if you want to go get the quarterback in there, or Ridley and double stack with Lawrence with Kirk. Then that works also. Everett tight end, even though I have a GPP, works in cash. For GPP, I'd probably go with like Jags defense, ATN, and Koo. And I'd probably stack it more Jacksonville. I wouldn't be afraid to put Bigsby in there also. If you want a real cheap lineup to put Bigsby as your captain, you can get pretty much whoever you want to. Then if you want to kind of flip it with a more contrarian build with the underdog Atlanta, then think of the game script that Robinson and Ryder are out there controlling the game, run the ball, putting up points. They're going to have to throw to try to catch up. So Lawrence and Ridley would be good ones to run it back with, and then whatever else finish up your line. So let's get to the main slate here. Let's flip the screen here. Make sure my box isn't too big and covering stuff up. So we have some injuries. We have no weather this week. Should be good on that. So start with first game, Bengals and Titans. 41 total. Cincinnati's favored by 2.5. Burrows is still injured. He's we saw on Monday night his calf is still an issue. I just wonder if like one of these games he's just not going to make it through. So if you want to get cute and $1 GP and start his backup in one of these games, it's never going to be a bad idea, because I just don't know. Maybe he's getting better, who knows? But obviously he's not 100%. Obviously he's not throwing as well. So so I'm not going to play him. Mixon, Tennessee is a funnel defense, so I'm not going to play him unless I think that the Bengals can absolutely just go and demolish them, and then he's going to run the ball at the end of the game to run out the clock. But Tennessee is a funnel defense; they're not great against passing. So if Mixon's catching balls out of the backfield, I think that makes him um, very valuable. Jamari Chase, I absolutely love in cash. Probably one of my favorite wide receivers, and he's not even up in like the highest echelon of wide receivers because they have been moving him into the slot, and Tennessee has not been good against the slot. They had him, he ran so many routes, caught so many short passes, and I think that's just going to be the game plan until Burrows is healthy, is to play him like that. So this really hurts T. Higgins, but Tyler Boyd actually helps because like T. Higgins is more the deep threat in how they're lining him up, and like Burrow just doesn't have enough time to get the ball or more mobility to get the ball down there, it seems. So I wouldn't be playing T. Higgins unless it's a super GPP, but I think Tyler Boyd's in play also. And Tanner Hudson, the tight end, I really like, and he's super cheap. That's another target for Burrow if he needs to get the ball out quick, that it seems to work out, and he doesn't need much to make value. Titan-sided ball, not playing Tannehill. Derrick Henry is fade for me unless you're playing on FanDuel, I think. I think he can run against Cincinnati, but he just doesn't catch as many passes and got a lot of miles on him. Like he always has 2 touchdown upside. He always could smash and run for 150, but Bengals run defense have been decent. Wide receivers have been banged up. So Hopkins is definitely the leader here. There's really not much. Tannehill's not a great quarterback. So I don't love a lot of pieces here from this Tennessee offense. Okon Quo is also lining up as kind of a slot receiver at times too. It's more like a third wide receiver than actually a tight end out there blocking. So he's cheap and he can be in consideration also, especially in a week when there's not really good tight ends to pay up for. It might be a good opportunity to find somebody cheap to pay up in other positions. Okay, definitely going to be the game of the week here. 53.5 total. Buffalo, Miami, real close spread. It's like 3 points now. So starting the Miami side, Tua, I don't think he's going to be super popular. Even if people stack this game, I think people will go with Allen on the other side just because he has some rushing upside. Tua doesn't really rush. He's more of a pocket passer, but he can definitely load up and throw down the field. Mostert, I think he's going to be fine. Buffalo has even though statistically they have a decent run offense, I think with him catching the ball out of the backfield and be able to run here, he'll be fine. I think a lot of people are going to flock back to Akane here. I mentioned him last video, but I was really up on him because I knew Waddle was out and I knew that Ahmad was out, and Ahmad could potentially get back. I think next week you have Wilson Jr.'s back also. It's going to be a crowded backfield. Akane is a very talented guy. We obviously saw that with all the touchdowns he scored. It just broke the slate if you played him last week. But people chase it, but I just don't think he's going to replicate it. He might have some good a good outing here, and he's got a pretty decent price. He's not super expensive, but I just don't think that with other weapons back that it's going to be the same thing. I think he caught lightning in a bottle last week, and I just don't think it's going to be as productive this week. But I do like Mostert, definitely. Wide receivers, Waddle's back. Hill's there. He's super amazing, but I don't know if he'll have as many targets as Waddle. I know the Bills defense is banged up. DeMar Hamlin is going to be back. I don't know how much he's going to play, but I think it's going to be definitely an emotional game for Buffalo there. But I think Hill Waddle definitely have a bunch of catches, a bunch of yards. But Waddle's just so much cheaper that I think it opens up a lot more. So I think I prefer, if I'm playing to stack him there. If you want to double stack it, that's fine too. And then Smythe, the tight end, I don't mind either. On the Buffalo side of it, Allen definitely in play, probably cash quarterback consideration. James Cook, this Miami Dolphins defense has not been great against running backs. He's catching balls out of the field. He's really pulled away from like Latavius Murray and some of the other people in this backfield. So he's definitely somebody that I like if I can get him into my lineup. Here, I'm going to pay for Diggs. I'm not going to go Gabriel because they seem like they're Miami's a bend but not break defense the way they play. Like they keep things like underneath, and Allen's going to have to take what the defense gives them. So I think Diggs will be able to get that, but Davis will be more of the deep threat. It's just kind of like the defense that he faced in week one. And he just really wasn't, or did he miss week one? No, what an early week in the season where he just wasn't a factor just because the way the defensive I think it was against the Jets, where he just wasn't a huge factor, just the way they played the defense, and Diggs was. Hardy, he did have a good week one, but he's kind of fallen off after that. They've been using like Kincaid, I think, more as like the slot receiver with the two tight ends. I know it's frustrating with these two tight ends, and Knox is definitely getting more of the red zone target, so I think he's more of the FanDuel play. But Kincaid, I think, at such a cheap price at 3-2, or maybe even play both because they're both cheap. Play one in tight end, one in the flex, and try to the capture method there. I know it's frustrating between the two of them, but I think that Kincaid doesn't really, at his price point, need to get too many catches. Each catch of the PPR adds up, points add up there. So I think he's definitely in play. So definitely going to have a lot of pieces from this game in cash. Definitely many different ways to stack it and go about it. Steelers and the Texans, a 41.5 total. Steelers are favored by 3 points here. Not a ton I really want on this Steelers team. I mean, GPPs, if you want to Pickett and Pickens, pair them. Calvin Allison had a decent game, but Allen Robinson is back, so that might kind of diminish him a little bit. There, the running back situation, Najee Harris is just like got old real fast. Jalen Warren seems to be like almost a 50-50 share there, or even if 60-40 with Harris. Harris just hasn't been productive, just really not touching that. Freiermuth on tight end, ever since Johnson went down, has picked up some target shares. He's really cheap also on DK. He's too expensive on FanDuel, so I wouldn't take him there. But on DK, I think he definitely makes a cheap tight end target for you. On the Houston side, CJ Stroud's actually come out and played really well as a rookie. I don't think he has any interceptions, has some touchdowns, looking decent. So Steelers defense is not what they've been in the past, but they're still decent. Pierce, I think the Steelers is like top 5 bad in rush defense. So definitely in play here. He was just everybody's drafted him so high in their fantasy leagues like just a couple of years ago. I think the talent's still there. I think Houston's starting to put it together. They're heading in the right direction after they kind of like completely dismantled the team after Bill O'Brien, and now is trying to start and rebuild here. And I think with the passing game, it does open up the run. And I think Pierce will definitely have not definitely, but I think Pierce can have a good game here, and I have no problem considering him. Nico Collins and Tank Dell both looked really good. Tank Dell, like Robert Woods' first game of a couple of games of the season, seemed like to be like the sure-handed veteran out there, but Tank Dell has just surpassed him, and Collins and Dell both in play in cash or GP fill-ins. Dalton Schultz, if you have to, but I think there's so many other tight ends that are cheap that are in better situations. Commanders and Eagles, 43.5 total. Total's high here, but it should be complete blowout. Philly by 8 to 10 points here. Washington side of it, Sam Howell, I just can't. I like him. I think he's a decent young quarterback, and there will be weeks where I'll take shots on him, but the offensive line is just horrible. Once they get pressured, like he just gets sacked so much, even more than Joe Fields. It seems like he's just on his back more than anything. So that just really hard for me to play the wide receivers. I think McLaurin and Dotson are definitely in play in GPPs. Brian Robinson, Gibson, it seems like a timeshare there, even though like Brian Robinson's the more talented one. Gibson just still continues to get in the way. Logan Thomas probably returns and probably gets injured again and goes out. So, and the Commanders' defense is decent, but Philadelphia's offense has just been clicking. So many weapons. They're just so in sync. I just can't really do much with the Commanders here. I think I'm going to fade almost all of them. Philadelphia, Hurts is definitely always in play as a running quarterback. In cash, you can play him naked or you can pair him up. I don't really know who to pair him up with because I think it was AJ Brown was complaining the game before that he wasn't getting enough targets, and he got a bunch thrown to him even in the red zone, but he dropped a bunch of them, so he can't. And Devontae Smith is there also. Zacchaeus, who was in Atlanta, used to be the Zacchaeus Whisperer. I used to like find good situations where against defenses and play him as like a punt all the time. The last couple of years when he was in Atlanta, and it paid off. And I had some shares of him on the Monday night for Showdown, and it worked out pretty nice also. But I don't know if this is going to be a situation where he's going to do that again. And then you have Goddard there just lurking also. The running back situation, Boston Scott should be back. So I don't know if like Penny's even going to dress, or like Swift definitely had the was the feature back, and he's doing really good in this offense and showing more than he was just with Detroit. It's just a change of pace, third down pass catcher out of the backfield. Like the guy can actually pound the rock. Um, but you have Gainwell, you have Scott, you have like so many other people. So with everybody healthy, I might just want to see like 1 week with that. I'll play few shares of Swift, especially if I can get up to the Philadelphia defense, but it might not be him at the end of the game. It might be Scott. It might be Gainwell. You just don't know. So many weapons. And then, like, I need these running backs with the whole tush push thing until they ban that play. Is going to Jalen Hurts is going to be the goal line back at the goal line. They're just going to line up, and everybody's going to push him from behind and try to get touchdowns that way. You're probably not going to see any touchdowns from any of these guys unless they break like a 20-yard run or something like that. Next game we have is the Rams and the Colts. It's a 1 point spread, so it should be a close game. Should be decent with a 45.5 total here. Anthony Richards' son should be back for the Colts. So let's start on the Ram side. I wouldn't play Stafford. Maybe in some deep GPPs if you want to pair him up with his wide receivers. I'm fine with that. Supposedly next week, Cooper Kupp is supposed to be eligible to come off the IL. I don't know if we're ready or not yet, but if you're playing the Rams, you want to start with Kyren Williams. A great play in cash on both sides if you can get up to him. If a lot of people probably be paying for expensive wide receivers, so they'll be paying down at running back. But Williams here is just, it's not a timeshare. Ronnie Rivers, Royce Freeman don't scare me at all here. Akers is out of town. It's his game. There's very few situations where you have somebody that's going to be running this much. The Colts have been okay on run defense, but I think he'll be fine. Catches passes out of the backfield. Really like the full package here. So Kyren Williams is definitely a go. Wide receivers, Nakua was banged up a little bit. He should be fine. He's cleared to play. Looking really good. But Tutu Atwell, don't forget about him either. Great pivot or great one to play with him. Just like has a lot of speed. They're trying to get him more involved also. So definitely someone. And Higbee's been bagged up too. And if he misses the game, then that just is more wants me to play Atwell and Nakua even more. Van Jefferson, not interested in, and nobody else really on this team. I'm going to pass on most of the rest of them. Colts. I mean, if you want to stack this game here, play the running backs and Williams and Richardson. You don't have to pair anybody with him. He can do a lot on his own with the concussion, and it wasn't from a hit. I think he like fell back in a sack and he hit his head. So I think that makes it a little less likely that they're going to say like we're not going to do any designed runs or anything for him. I think there still be, but Zach Moss has come out, looked really good, and again he doesn't have anybody. I mean, Trey Sermon's there, but I don't think he's really going to eat into his production in the backfield. Moss had a lot of carries, a lot of opportunities, and Richardson, Pittman has been resurrected. I thought like Downs or Pierce, one of them was his roommate in like training camp and stuff. I thought they'd develop a rapport there, but and both those guys are decent cheap targets if you want to throw into the stack. But I think Pittman's definitely the guy, and Kylan Grayson is another cheap option at tight end too if you're playing this game and to throw into your stack for the tight end position. Denver and Chicago Bears, you've got two really bad teams here. Denver, of course, gave up the 70 points to Miami. Chicago is just not started a lot of finger pointing. teams pointing at Joe Fields. Joe Fields is pointing at everybody else. Nobody's taking credit or accountability. They had the whole mess with the defensive coordinator resigning and the FBI probe, and just so many crazy things going on there. So starting on the Denver side of the ball, Russell Wilson, I think he's fine in cash. I think he's Sean Payton is definitely doing something there. I don't know if it's him or the offensive coordinator or what's going on, but he looks much better this season than he did last season. Jerry Judy's still a little bit banged up, but Sutton is there as a definitely sure-handed target. If Judy's out there, I think he's definitely in play. But Marvin Mims, if you're playing GPPs, if you want to throw him in the stack there, he's only really cheap. I think he's only like 4K, 3.9 or something like that. Definitely someone to look at. That's hopefully they're going to try to get more and more into the offense. Got a lot of talent. Again, their tight end, Mainwood's out. Troutman is just more of a blocking guy, so don't especially love him. But Javonte Williams, the running back, I definitely like him and think that he's a good opportunity to use him, especially if you're pairing with the Denver defense. If you don't think Chicago's going to do good, Denver defense and Javonte Williams are definitely a great pairing. And if you want to throw in GPPs, Purine, the old Cincinnati guy that's now on Denver here as like just a punt if you think that he's going to get a lot of run at the end of the game, just try to run the clock out and just keep on accumulating yards. I think that's in play too. The Bears side of it, I see some people making a case for Fields and cash. Like if Miami gave up 70 to, or if Denver gave up 70 to Miami, like Joe Fields is his opportunity, but I don't know. Herbert should be, after they gave up like 8 rushing touchdowns last week, should be in a great spot, but I just really fear Roschon Johnson is going to continue to eat into his time. It's a timeshare. Neither one of them have become the clear cut back. DJ Moore, I drafted him a lot and season long. He's just been disappointing, but I think it's been more the Fields part of it than the DJ Moore. I think he's trying. Mooney's been banged up, so that helps like Claypool, but I think Mooney will be back. So nobody else I really come at. Like he's more expensive than some of the other tight ends we've talked about. So, I mean, if you're playing this game and stacking it and you need a tight end, I'm not taking the Denver one. So I definitely take Komet over Trotman, but I might just one off it and take some of the other guys that are cheaper that are in play. So I got for that game. Next up, Baltimore and Cleveland Browns still kind of upset. I know there's so many other ways they could have won the game and not had to go to overtime and stuff, but there was like a clear non-call on a pass interference play that caused Baltimore to lose the ball. They probably could have driven down and gave Tucker, who doesn't ever miss, and missed a field goal to win it or tie it, or I forget what the situation was, but anyways, that week's over. But they have some injuries here. Bateman's out. OBJ is going to be out too. So they're down a bunch of wide receivers, and Andrews is still banged up. We don't know what the running back situation is. Gus Edwards had a concussion. He's been cleared. He should be there. Justice Hill is still banged up, but he might be there. Melvin Gordon's floating around also. Kenyon Drake's in the mix also potentially. So it's just an absolute mess. But anyways, Cleveland has by far the number one rushing defense. They have been phenomenal to start the season. So I don't think I want anybody in Baltimore, maybe Lamar in a GPP, but not touching the running back situation. If I am playing Lamar, maybe Flowers, Aguilar, maybe Andrews. But I just think, even though my favorite team in the NFL, I think I'm just going to favor the Ravens. It's just not the good matchup. They only have an 18.25 total here. Cleveland on their side, Watson's banged up. If he's got a shoulder injury potentially, running back situation, trying to still figure out. Good news, I said, for Chubb. It sounds like it wasn't, his knee is messed up, but not as bad as it could have been. So he might be ready by the start of next season to go. I don't think, they're going to make a Super Bowl run. So it'll be like coming at the back at the end of the season, but who knows? But, good for him. We're thinking of you. Never want to see anybody get injured in any sport or any part of life, but it's good news when you thought it was going to be worse than that, and it seems like it's encouraging for the process. But Ford, I was against playing him. He was up against really good defense. He luck box, caught a wide open one and then I think he had another rushing touchdown, but I don't think it's sustainable. Hunt's getting better. Like I think it's gonna be a timeshare here. Baltimore defense has been pretty stout against the run. Catching wise, Cooper I think is definitely in play here. He's looked good. I think he's finally getting healthy if Watson's there. Elijah Moore, I don't like playing him as wide receiver, but I think they figured out that while Elijah Moore is not a great wide receiver, but Elijah Moore has a lot of talent. So let's do some bubble screens for him or like some really quick passes or like a swing pass out of the backfield, something like that. So I think Elijah Moore is always going to be in play with just the different playmaker abilities that he has. If you're looking for a cheap fill-in in cash or GPP, it's a good one. Not making him a priority, but if I'm like looking through all the guys and I'm like, oh, Elijah Moore's here, he fits, and then just throw him in and move on, hit submit, you're good. Njoku, not having a great season as like in years past, but I think there's better tight ends in this price range. But if you decide to play him, then I don't hate it. Minnesota Vikings and the Carolina Panthers, 46.5 total, 4.5 favored Minnesota here. Bryce Young should be back, and we were kind of hoping that I believe like Dalton was the backup here, who probably would have been a better choice. Because Young is still trying to figure things out. He takes a lot of sacks and get the ball out. So starting on the Minnesota side of it, Kirk Cousins, I think you can play him here if you want to. It's more of a GPP play than cash. Jefferson obviously is like one of the top wide receivers on the slate here. But I think most people gravitate more towards like the Buffalo game and take Hill or Diggs over him. But he's always there, target monster. Jordan Addison is definitely solidified himself as number 2 and is pretty cheap at 5.7. And Hawkinson is also there. Maybe Hawkinson's more number 2, like Addison's like a number 3. Hawkinson's a tight end, but he's more like the wide receiver 2 here. Madison, he's okay. Cam Akers, I think, will be there, but I think Madison has done enough and will continue to fight to try to be the lead back there. I think Akers is just like an insurance policy, just in case Madison doesn't work out after they lost Cook, just not really having depth in the backfield. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. But I'm okay playing Madison at least this week until Akers, like we see him out there and see what his role is and see he figured out the playbook and everything. The Panthers side, not touching Bryce Young's. Miles Sanders, I like him if he plays. Minnesota hasn't had the greatest run defense, but he is banged up. If he sits, Chubbard Hubbard's pretty cheap on both sides. So, I mean, that could be a nice starting value running back. And we've seen him fill in before and actually be somewhat productive. For the passing game, Thielen, he's just underpriced and amazing for what he has, the targets and the catches he has and the yardage he has. Definitely their number 1 here. Definitely good. It's a revenge game here too. So like, why would you not play him? He gets the it'd be better if he went back to Minnesota, but he's facing his old team. So I think there's a little extra motivation there. Chark is back. He caught a touchdown last week. Mingo's been banged up. Both have this concussion or something. We'll have to see if he plays, but I think he's leaning towards playing in this game. If he doesn't, then that just helps Shark. There's really nobody like lower than that I look at. Hayden Hurst, I mean, he's okay if you want to, but again, I think there's much better tight ends in better situations. Hawkinson's a unique play on the other side of it, like tight end, because I don't think many people are going to pay up. So that definitely, if you think that he's going to have a good game here, could really differentiate your lineup and really set you on your way. Tampa Bay and New Orleans, 39.5 total, 3.5 favorite New Orleans. But I don't know if that's going to like be closer to an even if Derek Carr doesn't play and Jameis Winston comes in. Carr's dealing with a shoulder injury, got like planted in the turf on it and kind of banged up. But look at the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, I think is always in play. Saints have a decent defense. But Baker is just, he seemed to have matured, and I don't know if it's like the coaches or the system or what's going on, but like I don't hate playing him anymore. I think he's somebody that I can definitely consider. White struggled a little bit against a good rush defense last week. The Saints, I don't know if they're gonna give up a ton to him either, but I think it's a better matchup than previous. So I think you can go back to him if you want to. The wide receivers, Evans and Godwin, I mean, they're definitely good plays. I probably wouldn't play them as one-offs. There's so many other better matchups out here, but I would play if I am playing Baker, then I definitely take one of them to pair with them or both in the stack. And Otson, I think he dropped a touchdown last week, but I think he's definitely getting looks in the red zone and stuff, so he should be something that you can consider. Also, he's down in the lower price range of tight ends also that start. On the New Orleans side, if Derek Carr plays, I still don't trust it. I'm probably not going to. Jameis Winston, if he starts, is definitely a no. Kamara's back now in this backfield, so if I think he's okay here to play. I think he can catch some balls. I'd probably like him better with Carr than I would with Winston, because Jameis Winston, I think he's just so erratic. You know, runs around, tries to make a play, doesn't really look more down the field than to short dump offs to Kamara. He's always trying to hit the home run instead of like get the base hit. So I think that makes definitely Olave in play here as wide receiver. Michael Thomas actually had quite a few targets from Winston when he did come in the game when Carr was injured. So I think he's definitely in play also. And Shaheed, if you're playing in any thing that has opportunity at points for kick returns, like he is an electric kick returner. We really haven't seen anybody like Dion or Devin Hester, maybe put in the chat below if you can think of somebody that's just been an electric punt returner, kickoff returner. It just seems like since they changed the rules, like that just isn't a factor in the game anymore. But I just saw him run back a couple kicks and looked pretty exciting. So maybe he will turn into something. As for a wide receiver, I think he's got the speed and stuff, and think definitely, could he break a slate? Could he catch too long passes? Definitely, but can Jameis Winston get him the ball accurately? I don't know on that one. Juwan Johnson, the tight end, is interested. And probably the most interesting part here of if Carr is out is Taysom Hill, because he's the backup quarterback and he's priced as a tight end. Now he's priced up as a tight end because of the situation. I think DK realized it, but say Winston gets hurt, Carr can't play, or Winston is highly ineffective, and Tyson Hill comes out there and is running like Wildcat or actually like throwing the ball and stuff, and he's like scoring like a bunch of touchdowns at 4.5, that could absolutely smash the slate. So I will definitely have him in a lineup or two on this week just in case. Las Vegas Raiders and Los Angeles Chargers. It's kind of weird because it has Aiden O'Connell in at quarterback in some of these sites for if Jimmy Garoppolo can't make it, because Brian Hoyer is the backup and Hoyer is just ancient, I don't know. He's had success, but he's been playing so long, he's just not really I don't even know if he's an NFL caliber quarterback, but obviously he is because he's made a roster and all the cuts and everything. So I have no idea who Aiden O'Connell is. So I'm not touching this side of it at all. And I think you might see the line grow more towards the San Diego side of it if it is going to be somebody and Garoppolo's out. So what do we do for the Raiders? Josh Jacobs, I think, would be a great play. You can definitely run on the San Diego defense. Adams had a phenomenal game last week, but I really like Myers. If he's back and healthy, no matter who the quarterback is, I think he's a better fit for this matchup. Hooper tight, I'm not really interested in. Ref row, there's really nobody else on the team. So the quarterback situation, I'm not going to touch it. So I'm just playing Jacobs, Myers, and maybe some Adams. On the Chargers side of the ball, I think the defense comes into play depending on who the quarterback is. But Herbert, definitely like Kelly. I'm not touching him. 2 weeks in a row having a great matchup and not being able to capitalize on it. I just can't do it. Eckler, I think they're going to keep him out another week because they have a bye the next week. So like, why would you bring him back to rest him week? I think they'll just give him like the final 2 weeks off so he can come back 100% in week 6. Unfortunately, Mike Williams got injured, ACL out for the year. So sad. He was having a good season. Just wish he could stay healthy. Like Keenan Allen has done the same. Been knocked out of games, but Allen's the clear cut number one now. Definitely with Eckler out, Herbert and Allen's a great pairing. A lot of people playing Palmer and Cash. I said this last week's video, like he reminds me of like Madison or some of these other players where they had like opportunity for smash spots and just haven't risen to the occasion. And the one I really like on this team is Quentin Johnston. I think he is fast and talented, and um, everybody will chase Palmer, but for $300 less, I might just throw like Quentin Johnston because I have faith that he's going to catch more balls. And I think Palmer had like a touchdown last week or the week before, but like he just isn't as talented as like Johnson is or some other wide receivers. But I think just at the price point and knowing that he's the ticket stepping in for somebody that had a decent target share, maybe it'll translate, maybe he'll be fine. I'll let you decide on that one. Everett, again, he's okay at tight end. Will he pick up some target shares with Mike Williams out potentially and Eckler still out potentially, but I don't know. I think there's some other guys, like I said, a little bit cheaper that I'd prefer. But I think this is a decent game to target if you want to, but I think I'd be more on the Chargers side with just a single run back or so. Patriots and Cowboys. Dallas is favored by 6.5, 43.5 total here. Patriots, I just don't think there's really anybody on the Patriots side that I want. Maybe Hunter Henry, if you're paying up a little bit for tight end. Jones not interested in. Stevenson, I think is okay, but Dallas defense I think will be much better, even though they have some injuries. But after the Arizona game, I think they'll figure it out. So really nobody on the Patriots side that I want to play. Um, Cowboy side, Pollard, maybe Lamb potentially, maybe some Ferguson, maybe the defense. But again, I think it's all GPP. Like really don't don't really want to play this game. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Same total, 43.5, but it's San Francisco 14-point favorite over the Cardinals. And the Cardinals, really, Marquise Brown's banged up. Ertz is looking pretty old. Connor's just been disappointing. Dobbs like has been better than we thought he would be, but I really just don't want to touch anybody on this team. On San Francisco side, I mean, you can play anybody. Brock Purdy is like a game manager, but he's cheap, and with the weapons he has, his points can add up to something. McCaffrey, I have him as a fade in cash, and I know you guys are probably like, why would you fade Christian McCaffrey? It's just because he's like so expensive on both sites. It's just so hard to get up to him, and you're sacrificing so much that I think I can make up the points with a more balanced lineup than playing Christian McCaffrey and a couple of scrubs. But again, Elijah Mitchell might be out. He's banged up. So if he's out, then that means he'll have probably 100% of the snaps in the backfield, like he had in a couple of the games. Samuel's banged up. Ayuk should be back from his injury after missing the last game. And then you have Jennings, who is one of the wide receivers out. So Ronnie Bell potentially could come into the equation. But I think as we saw on the Monday night game, that Kittle was the one that really picked up the slack. And he didn't look, he was a little banged up coming into the season, but I think he maybe spending too much time making videos with Fitzmagic and whatever for like Little Caesars, I think it was. So but he's good. So between Purdy, McCaffrey, if you can get to him, if Mitchell's in there, I think he's intriguing too with maybe San Francisco defense to get the garbage time runs, or if they're because they really don't want McCaffrey like on the field as much as he is. So if they can get Mitchell out there and he's healthy and to eat into some of his snaps, especially if they're ahead, just to run the game out, then I think you'll see that role happen. And again, we'll just have to see what the wide receivers are. So I mean, Belly can take a shot on Ayuk. I think is definitely a great play here if all these other players are out, and then Kittle, don't forget about him. Okay, so that's all the games that we got. So let's look at the builds, and well, actually, let's just go through this first. So on high end, Allen, Hurts, and Herbert, I think are the quarterbacks I like. In the medium range, Tua, Cousins, and Richardson. Richardson, I think, is the most cash one in there just because of the rushing upside. Cheap ones, Russell Wilson, Purdy with all the weapons there, and Stafford. Potentially, I'm fading Lamar just because that Cleveland defense is really good against the run, and he's got a lot of wide receivers out, so that means he might have to do it all by himself. But then sometimes we've seen him failing doing that. Fields, I just don't trust him so far this season, and Burrows just with the injury. Andrew Watch, those guys there should be fine. Mitch should be in the running back. And he is right there. So anyways, I'll fix that later. Running back situation. Pollard's, Jacobs, Henry more on FanDuel, Mozart, I think are all in play if you want to pay up. In the medium range, I think Cooks, K. Williams from the Rams, Moss and Madison are like some solid plays for cash. I don't think you can go wrong on any of them. Swift, I think, is good in the cheap range. I hate that he might lose his touchdowns to Hurts there. Sanders, if he's in, if not, Hubbard is in the same good matchup. Jay Willett from Denver, love him, especially you compare him with the Denver defense. And Pearson, Houston, great spot against Pittsburgh run defense. I'm fading CMC. Mixon, unless you think that they can get up and you're playing the Cincinnati D and a GPP, and you can combine them there. Kelly, I just don't trust. Two great matchups, nothing, and I don't, even though this is another good plus matchup, don't feel good there. And Gus Edwards, and the whole Baltimore running back situation, not interested in. Wide receiver wise, Hill's definitely probably the top one here with Jefferson, Diggs, and Adams all in play. Might flip Hill and Diggs just because if I'm pairing them up, like I said, Diggs, I think will have more underneath stuff and take what defense gives. Hill having like Waddle back, I think that might cut down his target share a little bit. When I did this originally, I didn't know if Waddle would be in or not, so that's why I think put Hill that high. But anyone this range, you really can't lose on. But I really love this like over 6K, like kind of mid-range, not top. Like I said, Chase from the Bengals. Been using him a lot in the slot, been running plays for him to be able to get catches and just more short catches and like explosive plays, but he's one that could break one. Nakua should be healthy and out there. Allen from without Mike Williams alone in San Diego, for the Chargers is good. And then Waddle is a great price breakdown from Hill in the same game and has a great opportunity. The cheap one, Myers, really like him no matter who the quarterback is for Las Vegas. Sutton should be good, especially if Judy's out or continues to be banged up. Pickens and Atwell is just another one to pair with Nakua or to use as a pivot to Nakua to try to capture that in the Rams game. Sub 5K one Thielen is just like an amazing price, and I think he'll be super chalky. Dell also, after the way he played last week. Palmer, because of the Williams injury, will be there also, and then Elijah Moore, I said, is a decent playmaker. Tight end, if you're paying up Hawkinson, Andrew, or Kittle, I don't really like it this week. Kittle's probably or Hawkinson probably my favorite ones over Andrews. Medium range, Goddard, Henry, or Everett, but again, I really just don't like that one. I really want to stick in this cheap range and or even like the sub 3 one because I want to pay up for other positions. So Komet Hill, the YOLO one for New Orleans, if you think he gets some quarterback run. Higbee's banged up, remember? So Fryermuth, I think, is solid on DK, too much on FanDuel, but probably going to live with these Buffalo guys. So Kuo from Tennessee, I know he's not there. And then Smythe. Defenses, I think the best buys are Cleveland and New Orleans. Are in good spots. If I think you can maybe put Tampa Bay in there also if Jameis Winston is quarterback. If you're paying up, it's Philadelphia or San Francisco. Like I said, the Washington quarterback just gets sacked so much, so that makes Philly. And then Arizona, who we thought they'd take out last week, like they struggle. I think San Francisco will definitely dominate that game. If you want to punt, Miami, Josh Allen, remember even though he throws 4 touchdown passes, he might have 4 interceptions and 1 for a pick 6 in the same game. Indy's been solid too. In play, Denver against the Bears. I wouldn't play Chicago against Denver. I just don't like that going that direction. Dallas is expensive to get to, but they should have a good bounce back. I'd avoid Arizona and New England. And then finally, the stacks here. So Miami, Buffalo, I'm probably going to take Allen, Waddle, and one of the running backs. If I'm stacking Las Vegas and the Chargers, I'm going to take Herbert, Allen, and Jacobs or Meyer to running back with. The Raiders stack Richardson, the quarterback, Pittman pair with him, and then Nakua at Swell or both of them. Minnesota and Carolina are going to take Cousins, Jefferson, and Thielen with the revenge game there. And then Denver, Chicago, Russ or Fields, whichever direction you want to go. Sutton or Mims or both in your stack, and then more to run it back with. Don't feel bad, like you don't really need to run back. Like if you just play Fields alone, then you can just stack the rest with Denver and be fine. I don't know if you take the Denver defense in that, but let's look at the builds and then get you on the way for your Sunday. So as I said, paying up for cash here. I'm going to take Allen is if I can get him in. Great matchup, high total, close game. Russell Wilson or Richardson. Give me Moss or K. Will as my RB1 there. And then I want a piece of the Buffalo Miami game again with Cook or Mostert. Diggs or Hill. Take your pick. I'm probably leaning Diggs with just the way the coverage is because I'll just take Waddle as the Miami piece of it. And then Thielen or Palmer. I trust Thielen more, but if you want to go Palmer, I think a lot of people will. Fryermuth is a great tight end here, or I'm taking Smythe or one of the Buffalo guys. I prefer Kincaid over Knox because on DK, because I just think that if they are playing him a little bit more in the slot, then he should be able to catch more balls, even if it's not in the end zone. But I think Knox is the play on FanDuel, and then Cleveland defense. FanDuel is almost the same, although I'm going to take J. Will and then Denver defense and pair them together because Denver defense is cheaper than Cleveland, and I can get up to J. Will. So Cooks and Mokes are the same. Diggs, Hill, Waddle, Okonkwo. I think because Fryermuth is too expensive would be the cheap option if you're not taking Miami or Buffalo tight end. And for both of these in cash, one the fill-in could in your flex could be one of the guys that's on the sheet already that you just didn't play. You played the other guy in the position, so just throw them in the flex. GPP Herbert, Jacobs, J. Will from Denver and the Denver defense in the GPP, Allen and Jamari Chase. For FanDuel, Herbert, Madison or Mixon, again, in like Mixon and cash, but Tennessee defense. But if you think that Tennessee can is going to be behind in the game and that they're just going to run the clock out, then pairing him Mixon with the Cincinnati defense makes a lot of sense. Allen Chase running it back with Myers instead of Jacobs on FanDuel, and then Hudson, cheap Cincinnati tight end. I really like there. So what I got for you. If you have any question, you can put them in the chat below. Hit me up at MegaRotor31 on Twitter or X, whatever we call it nowadays. If you want more information off that DFS, if you want to get the final cores and everything from our package, then sign up for the information to sign up is in the description of the video, and I'll link you to our website, and you can get into that. Very affordable packages that we have, and we've got a lot of free things going on. Major League Baseball is free to the end of the year. Preseason hockey's been free. NASCAR will be free tomorrow, just because it was too hard to make videos with a plate. It's not plate, a super speedway track. So, a lot of free stuff there that you can just sign up and get into. And finally, if these videos helped you, you've already helped by watching this far into the video. Thank you so much. Please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and share with your friends. So I don't know if I'll have a Sunday night video, but I should have the Monday Night Football video tomorrow. So check that out. And as always, you know how to get a hold of me. So thanks again for watching. Continue to give me comments on how we can make this a better program for you to help you out. And good luck in your contests. And I'll see you next week.